You're listening to Common Sense and Beer, where we hit the hard-hitting topics with a beer in hand and the occasional guest. I'm your host, Kyle, and my other host here,
Zach.
And today, well, we don't really have a great topic. Nothing central. We're just going to flow.
Just going to talk about whatever comes to the dome.
So a couple things have happened. Election update. Trump went to the Libertarian convention. He got booed, but pretty much everybody that goes to the Libertarian convention gets booed.
Yeah.
To some extent. Libertarians picked a Antifa communist gay vaccine mandate candidate. So a bunch of libertarians are announcing that they're going to vote for Trump. So that's a thing.
Good Lord. You'd think a libertarian candidate would be someone that no one's ever heard of, that wouldn't be like a disruptor on either side. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, you have someone that's Antifa.
The beauty of the Libertarian Party, which you give them this, is that it's freedom from all different shapes and views of freedom. So it's a bunch of weirdos and whack jobs mixed in with like common sense, a lot of common sense, and logical. You know, like the Ron Paul types and the Mises Caucus people, like Dave Smith and all them. That's who they should have voted for.
Yeah.
But then again, that would have probably pulled like legitimate votes because that would have been a legitimate Libertarian Party. And the Libertarian Party candidates never been serious. They've always been more lefty, progressive, Green Party type or some sort of whack job that isn't really pro-freedom.
Yeah, that's a good point too. Yeah, pulling votes away from any one of the candidates. That's that's what they do not want.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it doesn't surprise me that they would. It doesn't surprise me that they would pick somebody that either no one's heard of or no one is going to vote for except for a very minute number of people.
Yeah, I hadn't even heard of the guy until that thing happened. I'm not like a true libertarian though, so I don't really follow the party very closely.
Right.
I think the fact that it is a party, like I said, it's more of just a weird convention of like from all sides, all walks of life.
Yeah.
You know, you could have crazy, just normal Americans to your crazy anarchists to like, your nutty hippies and people that believe in all the progressive, trans stuff mixed to people that, definitely think that shouldn't happen. People that are open borders and people that aren't open borders. It's all in the same room. So, I mean, I think it's crazy. If you really think about it, it's a mix. Yeah. It's quite the mix.
I think a lot of the self-proclaimed, libertarians, I think there's a reason that it doesn't, the party itself doesn't get many candidates, and it's because everyone just thinks, oh, well, it's just going to be another politician. They're gonna cater to money wherever they can. It's just like any other politician. Yeah. There's enough there's enough skepticism there by libertarians just based off of the last 10, 12, 16 years that they're like, yeah, no, I'll just vote for one of the two from the, one of them from the two big parties.
But I think it was cool that nonetheless Vivek Ramaswamy showed up.
Yeah.
Trump showed up. RFK Jr. showed up. A bunch of like mainstream candidates, showing up to these things is a big deal, I think.
Well, yeah. I mean, it gets some sort of dialogue going about libertarianism,
Yeah.
I mean, that's good in and of itself. I mean, sure, they might have whack jobs, but realistically, there's going to be whack jobs in real life. So,
there's whack jobs in I met some whack jobs in the Republican Party that were just like, it's like, oh, so you're who they're talking about.
Yeah.
Like they just made those comments and you're just like, huh.
I know a few of those.
Like, I don't fully agree with you, sir.
Right. Right.
And then it was weird too, because in our area, it's a strange, like, it's Republican. It's red. Well, like not here, but like where I'm at.
Right.
It's red, but it's like that kind of, I'd say a majority of the Republican types remind me of like the JFK, kind of the blue dog Democrat Republican mix, that line.
Well, they're probably more
the worker type.
What I've noticed around here and even down there too is they're economically conservative, very conservative.
Yeah.
But as far as social issues and social things like that, one, either they just don't care and just leave me alone, the very libertarian approach to it, or they're a little bit more sensitive to the social issues. And let's be honest, I mean, let's talk about the social issues. That's what everyone seems to think that politics boils down to, is those social issues.
I know.
And it's never about the economy. It's never about, important stuff. No, it's always about, oh, can he be a she and she be a he? And
yeah, it's kind of like, why are government resources being spent on that in the first place?
Exactly.
There's different things the government should be focused on. I always thought that when it came to like the gay marriage thing, and I'm like, you know what? I'm down for like, all right, fine. They can get unionized, right? In the eyes of the government,
right?
They can be unionized, but it's like, no, they can't be married because that's the religious thing. It's like,
yeah,
that's kind of. It's just weird though, but it's like, why is the government talking about that at all? Abortion, why is
Well,
that's
I
like
think
murder. All murder's illegal except for this.
Yeah,
this is fine.
Yeah. Well, I think the whole marriage thing. I think the only reason the government got involved there is because they needed laws changed. Because, before it was illegal to have a same-sex partnership, even, or union.
Yeah.
And so now they can do that, in the eyes of the law and stuff like that. Whatever. I mean, I don't agree with it, but whatever.
Yeah, like that's what I mean.
Don't,
it's like, give them that because that's what they want, right? That's what they're asking.
Yeah.
The sacred,
Well, then there's others. Yeah, then there's others that
woman, that's all.
Yeah, there's others that are pushing for that as well. For the same sex. Yeah. So
what's that, Rafah.
It's crazy.
So, the beheading of children in Gaza. Oh, they're just going around. Oh my goodness, they're I can't trust anything they say because of the hospital thing and like all the nonsense, because like the propaganda coming from the Islamists is freaking like, they're good at it. Don't get me wrong, but it's like the same low production bullcrap videos, and it's like, dude, I don't believe either one of you. And being real honest, besides the fact that this is like we're getting real close to World War III, and I think this is just another front of the war, I give two shits less of either side of that. Israel, I don't agree with what they're doing in like the bombing strategy,
right?
The cornering, keep bombing them to a corner type thing. Like, I don't know about that. I get that, you're rooting them out, like you're sick of it. I get, you finally snapped, and it's the whole thing of like, it's the meme of, Hamas commits terrorism, gets attacked back, and then cries about getting attacked, and it's like, it's just the loop that they do, and it's like, they're taking supplies and water infrastructure and whatnot to create rockets and stuff, and then you want to say like, oh well, the people. It's like, dude, the people are also supporting it. Like, the ones that know what's going on and are sticking around, they know what's going on and they support it because they're convinced of the same whole thing of the the enemies over there, and it's whatever. But like I said, I don't care either side. Like Ukraine, Russia, I don't care about them either.
Right. Yeah, dude, I heard something interesting, because I took that approach too to the whole Ukraine and Russia thing too. And that one, I guess, so I heard an interesting take on it, which was that, well, because Ukraine borders so many UN territories, that's why we're getting involved in it, because we don't want it to bleed over. And if Putin, basically just runs through Ukraine, nothing's going to stop him at that point. So he's just going to keep trying to run through. So I get that portion of it, but at the same time, we shouldn't be. Well, yeah, I mean, so he goes into Poland, right?
Well, why would he? They've not made any sort of thing that's what they're going to do.
The point
is too, this has been a red line case for them. We've been expanding NATO since the Cold War, which is something that we promised we weren't going to do.
That's what I meant, UN or NATO.
NATO, and it's been expanding closer. So yeah, now it's that way, but it didn't used to be that way.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. I
look at like we've completely surrounded Russia with NATO.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think the point that of the remark that I heard, or the thought on it, was that it was just that if Putin is able to take Ukraine, then he's going to get a god complex and start going through to other places. And that may be the case, but at the same time, I mean, you'd be pretty stupid to mess with any of NATO.
He's taken. Look, I mean, he's announced his red line multiple times, and I don't think that the intent there. I think it's to secure their might by taking that port, but it's getting the land to the port.
Yeah.
And then there was stuff going on in that area of the country in Ukraine where nationalists would go around and because a majority in that portion spoke more Russian, right? Like the part that borders Russia.
Yeah.
And nationalists from the Western Ukraine side, if you want to consider it that, went over and they were massacring these politicians, throwing them off of the roofs and shit, hanging them, stuff like that, and causing these coups, basically, all these civil unrest moments. They had that civil war, so they were going around causing all this trouble. And it's when you're the Russian side of it and you're seeing these people saying they want to be part of Russia and this is happening to them, it's and the Azov battalion's quite literally a bunch of Nazis. They praise the whole Nazi era of Ukraine. It's look, I get Putin's not. I believe he lies, and I believe he's going to manipulate people. And
sure.
Sure. They're under as much propaganda. I watch RT, or I look at RT News. I understand the pro-Russian propaganda there.
Right.
Don't get it's not lost on me.
Yeah.
But you can't just assume that these people are lying about absolutely everything. And it's
right.
I think with that, we've been lied to so much to believe these things. And when you look at our side and how crazy they get about, especially with Ukraine, man, they're nuts.
Yeah.
They're waving flags in Congress and shit. And just, you gotta spend money. The whole border bill fell apart, but at least the money to Ukraine and Israel went through.
Yeah, that's my thing is I just don't know why we are funding a majority of this war for Ukraine.
If we stopped, it would be over.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
But it's only going to keep escalating if we keep sending more arms, and then we have to send them more sophisticated equipment, and then we have to send them advisors how to teach them how to use the equipment.
Yeah, well, and yeah, exactly. Where do you're riding a fine line between involvement and non-involvement.
I believe Russia probably assumes they're already at war with the West. They already probably think that this whole Ukraine conflict is them at war with NATO.
I would.
Yeah. But our citizenship doesn't recognize that.
Right.
It's we got to back Ukraine, and it's dudes, no.
Yeah.
And first of all, it's if you wanted to really back Ukraine, elect a stronger president and a stronger administration, not one that's letting everything fall through the fall into the dirt.
Yep. Yeah, that's the one thing. I mean, and Trump was saying a little bit along those lines too, is that, if we're going to continue to aid Ukraine, we are not going to be paying the majority of it. There's these other countries in NATO that want to protect the same interests that we do, but they're not kicking anything in.
Yeah.
And so what were his words? I think he used the words their fair share, kicking in their fair share. But I mean, either way, I can understand a little bit, but at the same time, we should not be spending so much money over there. I mean,
yeah, we shouldn't be spending all the money we're spending on all the stupid nonsense.
Right.
Oh man, it's bad.
Yeah, the American dollar would be much more valuable if we didn't just spend it every time we got it.
It's going to be a long road to fix that.
They don't even have it. What am I saying when they get it? They don't even have it. Yeah. What did that guy say? We print it and then is there bonds?
Yeah, no, that's not how it works.
Yeah, it's we loan it out. Yeah.
Well, anyways, we print
no wonder.
the money.
Yeah. No wonder.
That guy, man, to think he's in charge of anything.
Oh yeah. No wonder we're in the state we are.
Yeah. Speaking of that, so Memorial Day weekend's behind us.
Yep.
I hope you had a good long weekend, as Kamala Harris famously told us all to have a good long weekend.
Yep, that's what it's about, right?
It's just about having a good long weekend.
Yep.
And I think it was sprinkled with some George Floyd action. They memorialized him.
Did they?
Oh, they did.
I didn't notice.
He should be with us. Yada yada bullshit.
I didn't I even if I would have
Yada,
seen it, I
yada,
would
he
have
died
just
from
skipped over it.
fentanyl and-
Yeah.
Yep, Derek Chauvin should be free. Yep, I said it.
We get controversial here on
Well, he should be,
Common
man.
Sense and Beer. No, I'm not saying
It
you're
was
wrong.
fentanyl killed George Floyd. He did the speedball. They should have just left him in the car because then he would have OD'd and died in the car, and it would have been like, oh, how?
Yeah,
it's
that's
the
what.
police SUV's fault. Lock it up,
Yeah.
dismantle it.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we had.
Well, hold on.
Okay,
Let's
all
not breeze past that. What? So let me ask you, because I don't know if we've ever talked about this in depth. That exact scenario of George Floyd. Do you think? How do you think that could have been handled differently?
They could have left him in the car once they got him in there.
Okay. So do you think? What's his last? Chauvin?
Yeah, he showed up after this happened.
Right. I know that.
Yeah.
I know that. So the whole kneeling on the neck and everything, whether or not that's actually what killed him. I mean, do you think that was appropriate at the time?
I don't think he needed to do it, and
Right.
I think that's the whole reason why he was able to get prosecuted.
Right.
Because there's the video
Okay.
and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I think.
Look good for old
Right.
Chauvin.
Right. Well,
But
not only that.
I don't think he's the reason Floyd
Right.
died. Is what I'm
Right.
getting at.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's kind of where I hold it to.
And they proved in the court that that's actually what they're trained to do.
Really, because I've heard from several sources that everyone is trained not to do that, and this was before the George Floyd thing.
No, their department specifically, like their trainer and everything, they
Really?
were brought in and were like, yeah, that's how that's how they've been taught.
Interesting.
Yeah. All that happened. Once I saw the court case, I was like, oh shit, he's gonna get off and it's gonna cause more riots.
Yeah.
And then he got sentenced. I was like, what? And that's not the same case I saw, but the
Right.
judge. This is when I found out that the judges were being quite dishonest in this point in our country.
Yeah.
And that started happening. I thought Kyle Rittenhouse was going to get screwed, but then he had a Baystol, Wisconsin judge,
Right.
old school.
Right. Well, I mean, not only that, but you had so much you had so much footage of these people already trying to assault him.
Yeah, and he took controlled shots. He wasn't just shooting all randomly and spastic.
Yeah. Right.
But
He showed some control.
did you have something specific on?
No.
George Floyd
I
on
was
that?
just wondering what your thought was on that. Just a
Okay.
little bit of a deeper dive. Yeah, I think I agree with you. I mean, if the department was teaching that, I think that I don't know. See, I'm a real big one that I think I think police officers should be held accountable for their own actions, regardless of if a department tells you to do something or not. I know there's a certain level of following orders, but when those orders overcome your natural instinct as a human to preserve life, I think you are held responsible. Maybe the department as well, but ultimately you're held responsible. Now, in this case, do I think that it was that necessary? No, it probably wasn't. Right?
No.
In fact, we can probably say it wasn't. It wasn't necessary.
I
but
think I think the most punishment he should face is in interdepartment.
right,
Some
right,
sort of
right.
firing.
Yeah.
or something.
Well, yeah, absolutely.
But I don't think he should spend his life in prison.
I think, I will say this. I think the only reason that he got such a drastic punishment for all of that,
Because he's white.
well, it was because of the pressure from society saying that this isn't right. This is a black
Yeah.
guy. A white guy was kneeling on a
That's
black
my
guy.
point. The judge had no spine, and it was society's decision.
Right.
That
I mean, the
judge
fact
was
that-
just delivering the message that the society was,
Exactly.
he's a puppet.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so I think that's why he got as heavy of a sentence as he did. I still think that he should be held accountable for sure. I mean, it's at that point, kneeling on someone's neck, if it's absolutely necessary to preserve yours or someone else's life and you're actually trying to protect someone else, okay, if it's necessary, it's necessary.
Yeah.
But at that point,
I know.
Was
man,
it
but, like,
necessary?
I'm just gonna say it. Like, we're giving too much memorial to George Floyd right now.
oh, yeah, I'm not going to deny that.
So
I'm not going to deny, because the guy was, I mean, he
they
was
created
visibly.
statues, and this guy was.
Yeah.
He took
He-
all his drugs because he didn't
Yeah.
want to get caught with them.
He was
after
visibly
he was
out of it.
trying to spend a counterfeit $20 or $2
So-
bill or something.
something.
It's just like, come on, man.
Yeah, it's silly. I mean, do I think he deserved to die over a counterfeit
well,
bill?
it was his decision. I
No.
mean, technically, old Floyd committed suicide.
Yeah,
He just didn't realize what he was doing.
Right.
The old fentanyl crisis there.
Yeah.
But like, all right, we had some Congress folk try to wish everyone basically like a happy Veterans Day, like, oh, the veterans still need their, fair share type stuff, yada yada. And it's like, it's not the right holiday. Like, this is a memorial. Right. This is a remembrance of those who have fallen. Yeah. Like, I get, like, don't get me wrong, because I get people who reach out to me personally and wish, thank me for my service, and it's like, thanks, because all I view it as is people are just getting patriotic, right?
Right.
But this caused like a roar, right? People went crazy on these, and they just, called them out, which I'm all about calling them out, because these are the people who also are supporting like moving Somalia into Minneapolis and
right,
moving the majority of Michigan's becoming, Islam due to some of these people and the stuff they set up. So it's like, I don't really care that they're getting ridiculed. But for me personally, and when people do that and just kind of like mix up what the holiday's about, and I feel like it's just a remembrance and like a repatriotic kind of like rekindling. So it's like, it's just kind of, something people do.
Yeah.
So like to see them get ridiculed, and I can't join in on that ridicule, because I would be kind of a hypocrite, right?
Right.
So I don't. But it's funny, because they deleted their posts. So it was obviously bad enough that they were like, okay, I messed up. Their poster, I'm sure it's not these people writing this stuff. It's, to be honest, it's probably some progressive activist from, high school that they hired for some cheap slave labor to, if anything at all.
Yep.
Maybe they get a kickback from the mail-in ballots they operation they got going or something.
Right,
I don't know.
Right. Yeah, Memorial Day, I've always seen it as, I mean, we always go to we always try to take the kids anyway to the parade,
Mm-hmm.
And one thing that I noticed, and I was super proud of it, whenever there were veterans in their uniforms, my kids, first of all, you'd expect, with it being Memorial Day, you'd think that there'd maybe be like applause for the veterans and stuff that come through.
Yeah.
Not just the marching band, not just, the dance academies dancing through the street, you'd think. Well, anyway, so there was a spattering of applause throughout the crowd, and we were right on the main street there of the parade.
All right.
And my girls started applauding when they saw the veterans, and I'm like, "Oh yes, thank you, thank you." We taught them something, But in fact, they were so good at the parade, that all the kids bum rushed the candy,
Yeah.
And
that's what it's all about.
Yeah, well, they were so good that they were letting the little girl that was next to him go out and get the candy, and they'd bring candy back for her and stuff.
Nice.
But it just. Memorial Day for me, first of all, I'm Christian, so I always have some sort of themed prayer when it's Veterans Day, Memorial Day, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I pray before I go to bed, so I usually just say a little prayer based off of Memorial Day, and it's something along the lines of that, the freedoms that we enjoy came at a price, and thank you for the blessings that you've instilled in our country, all of that.
Yeah.
And I think there is a little bit of a mix up, because there's a lot of people, you talk to a lot of veterans and a lot of people that are kind of established in a military culture. I think they do they have the very real essence of what Memorial Day is, where a lot of people outside of that arena just don't understand. They just take it as more of a patriotic day, and it'd be nice to see that people actually understood what it was for, because
the first message that I got on a group chat that I was in was Happy Memorial Day.
Yeah, happy, right?
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah, enjoy your barbecues.
Thanks.
Yeah,
thanks for
right.
A bunch
and
of.
I mean, there's not necessarily a terrible thing about being more patriotic on that day. At least it's something.
Yeah, just kinda-
other than just a barbecue.
Right.
But
Right,
at the
right.
same time, you do wish that people would recognize some, at least understand what the holiday is about. Have your cookout. That's fine. I'm not saying you shouldn't have a cookout.
No,
you
it's
know?
definitely one of the cookout holidays.
Yeah, for sure.
absolutely.
I mean, it's kind of the what is it? What did she say? The undesignated start of the summer.
Yeah.
Um,
And that's honestly why I fully support Juneteenth. It's just another cookout holiday.
yeah, yeah.
Well, you definitely have your cookout, but you also pour a beer out for your homies.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I
this
mean,
is
yeah.
definitely one like for traditional sake. You get your homies together, or you do whatever. Like for me, I didn't do it this year, but it's usually around the time where I bust out the Band of Brothers and start give that a
Okay.
good watch.
Yeah.
Every
I
time
still got to finish that. I did start watching it. I know you guys were giving me crap last
How
time.
far into it are you?
I've watched 4
You like
episodes.
it so far?
Oh yeah, that's good.
You know, he obviously doesn't like it because he didn't binge watch all 10 episodes.
I am a little. Yeah, it's a little. That's why I asked. Like, how far?
I don't
into it
have to. Oh, I got to tell you too. My TV took a dump in my living room.
He's lying.
Yeah. No, my TV took a dump in my living room, and it was, when your TV starts doing weird things, you start going straight to Google, figuring out, okay, is it worth fixing, or do I have to buy a new one? You know, I will tell people, spoiler alert, almost always 90% of the time you should just buy a new one.
Especially with the prices of
Yeah.
TVs. Like for one thing, like inflation has not affected the price of TVs.
Oh yeah, yeah.
They're like cheaper than ever.
Well, yeah, I looked at it. And it's a common problem with this make and model.
What brand is it?
Samsung.
Oh man, even it's
Yeah.
worked out the big bucks too.
Yeah. So
No, honestly, I've had more issues with Samsung, or I think Insignia, which is Best Buy brand, is also Samsung. I've had more issues with those TVs than like any other brand. My brand of choice for TV, LG, all day long.
so LG went for
Or Sony. Yeah, I haven't messed with Sony too much, but they are like the OG on the
Yeah.
electronics front.
well
so.
LG for a couple of years, because I remember my parents had problems with LG, but it was only for a couple of years. In fact, I've
Yeah.
researched it, but there was a couple of years where the power boards kept going out on them.
Oh, okay.
Or the light board would go out on them or something,
Sure.
so you'd have that big strip down the middle or down the side.
Well, so I've had two, that get heavy use, one in the living room and one in the bedroom. It's the same one, but, different sizes. And those, man, they've held up for like 6 years now. And there's no ghost screening. There's no
Yeah.
issues. Like the one remote has issues with sticky buttons, but that's
Oh,
about
well.
it. That's
Stop.
you just
Oh, never mind.
yeah, nice try. That's the living room one. I don't get to use the living room TV, which is the bigger one,
Yeah.
as much because I'm like, all right, cool, I want to watch John Wick. Well, there's my daughter running around or my son. I guess I
Yeah.
can't really watch John Wick. Let's see what I can.
You
I guess I can watch
could.
a Marvel movie.
Yeah,
again for the 100,000th time.
Dude,
I do like Guardians of the Galaxy. I can watch that one.
Yeah, those
number
are-
2 over and over again. But
Yeah.
that's about it for those movies.
Yeah. I fell out of the Marvel a little bit. And to be honest with you, where I fell out of it was I think I watched Endgame, but even before then I started noticing they were getting real social justice-y in some of them.
Yeah.
And so I
well,
was-
after Endgame, they were all pretty much bullshit.
Yeah. Well, I know they did Black Panther.
I didn't even watch it.
I didn't either. I've seen bits and pieces of it. I know. What's the Captain Marvel? Captain Marvel
Yeah.
got real girl
Don't
power.
really hate. I mean, I do hate. I don't like Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
Very unlikable character.
Right. Right.
Like the first movie was okay.
Okay. Yeah.
I was okay with that movie. But the actress, I didn't really pay attention to the Hollywood drama at the point, but she was very much very unlikable. Kind of like when the chick that was playing
Brie Larson.
Brie Larson.
Larson.
Yeah.
It's kind of like when Rachel Ziegler or whatever was playing the Snow White for the Snow White remix, and she was shit talking Snow White, and the whole story's misogynistic and shit
Yeah. I
talking her
heard something
prince.
like that. Yeah.
And it's like, well, that's why and it was like, oh, people don't like it because they're racist, and it's like, no, people don't like it because you're a royal cunt.
Yeah.
Like, dude, they don't like you.
Yeah.
And it's Brie Larson. It's the same thing. Like, these actresses come out and they shit talk the fans or the whole like franchise, like the movie that they're in.
Right.
And then it's like, yeah, dude, like no one's gonna like, and then they're just gonna look for all the bad that they can find, even if it's good.
Yeah.
They're gonna look for every bit of negative that they can.
Exactly.
So even if they liked it, they're only gonna like it a little bit.
Yep.
Well,
and most of these movies and stuff, books, movies, whatever kind of entertainment there is out there. I think the only reason that people are starting to find issues with them is like you said, just because they're looking for them. They enjoyed them when they were a kid, right? They never thought about any of this. Which it's a kid's movie anyway. They're not going to be looking for that stuff, nor is it really. I mean, it's just nuts to me that all of these 30 something year olds
stuck in the era, dude.
Yeah,
they're stuck in that Disney era.
Yep.
They're a bunch of babies, man. They're going to Disneyland without a kid.
Well, it's like Lion King. Scar was the only one that had a black mane. This is what people are saying. So it's racist.
Like all the voice actors black?
I don't know
all
about
the
that.
Songs
James Earl
were
Jones
performed by black.
James
Dude.
Earl Jones.
But like, who cares though? That's the point. Like,
right?
No
exactly.
one cared
exactly.
then. Why do we care now?
Right.
And that's the point. Is it's like they're just what they are is not creative, and they're just trying to recreate everything from what they learned in school that every's racist. And we got to dismantle the patriarchy. It's all a bunch of Marxist bullshit, dude. In practice, that's why they're rewriting and Look, the fact that everything's so digitalized now should be worrisome to everybody because they can change it on a whim, slowly but surely.
Oh, yeah.
Look at Wikipedia, how often that stuff can change.
Yep.
But think about it when a book's in a Kindle library, how just subtle sentences get changed here
Sure.
and there, and then
It's a Mandela effect.
Oh, it's just a Mandela effect.
Yeah, it was never that way.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what I feel like a lot of the Mandela effects are, because it's like the Fruit of the Loom one, they got busted on because people busted out pictures, and it's like, no, see, you tried to pull one on us, but it's like, no.
Yep.
And that was probably just some new person,
100%.
young person that never seen them before.
Exactly.
It's working for the company on their social media.
We never had a cornucopia.
Talking about. This is not a thing since my 18 years of life.
Yeah, exactly.
19 years of life.
Yep. Yeah, man, I don't know.
Dude.
I think
it's a lack of creativity though, man. They're just recreating
honestly,
all the stuff with, like I said, with the
100%.
dogmas that they think are that they need to
100%.
instill, and it's just hammering shit down people's throats.
Now there are some things I will say there are some things that when you go back and watch the original versions of some of these movies, like The Little Mermaid, the priest getting a hard on at the wedding and stuff, and like I don't know.
A lot of that can be explained too by Hollywood, man, because Hollywood was perverted as shit, and you hear a bunch of them brag about how they put a bunch of like gay sex innuendos into these family films, and the straight people, they don't get it because they're too naive, but it's like to them they're these inside jokes. Like, that's the type of shit that was happening in the 90s. You go back and watch a lot of those movies as an adult, and you're like, we shouldn't be watching this, but it goes right over the kid's head as it did your head as a kid.
Well, right now, and now that we're saying this too, I'm trying to think of other things that I watch besides Disney movies. And I think about Looney Tunes and how I loved Looney Tunes, right? And I was thinking, can you grab me one too? Yeah, what do you want? One of these is good. I was thinking about it, and I'm like, man, I wish they'd bring back Looney Tunes. And then I'm like, you know what? No, I hope they don't, because then it's just gonna be nothing but social justice stuff, and it's gonna be, either that or they're gonna have to put out, the little disclaimers at the beginning of the show.
Oh, right.
Because they have to do that now.
Section.
Yeah, have you seen that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Well, if you subscribe to Disney Plus,
by the way. That offends me. And if I didn't get Disney Plus for free, I would totally unsubscribe.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, that's one thing. It's like, keep the Looney Tunes. I loved the Looney Tunes.
Dude, I worry about everything that gets remade. Now, one thing, the X-Men remake cartoon, it's like the old cartoon.
Okay.
But it's social justice-y.
Yeah.
Of course.
You know what? Deadpool Deadpool hasn't been touched by the social justice.
Yeah, I don't know if they.
Hopefully, the new one.
Ryan Reynolds is keeping it real in this world.
Yeah,
like I think he's one of the more based individuals, but
Yeah.
like I also feel like he's kind of like Robert Downey Jr. in Tropic Thunder. Like he's just kind of untouchable.
right.
You know?
Yep.
At this point, but what I was gonna say is something that was not really remade because it's technically like a prequel, the Wonka movie, that didn't have really anything in it.
Yeah.
And that was actually, I will say, with the strikes happening right now, like some of this stuff coming out has been pretty decent. And what I will say is a lot of the stuff that we, specifically go to see, which we do have to kind of look it up before it comes out. And that's just unfortunately due to the times. But it's like, it doesn't have anything at all in it. And it's like, not even they're slowly learning that it's like, okay, that wasn't the way.
Yeah.
So it kind of makes me like double back is like, what convinced them that it was?
Right.
Was it just the mass bot produced opinions? Because I don't think anybody was truly canceling any of these things. I think they were bot farms that were canceling on social media, and then all these companies were freaking out like, oh, we got to do this. We got to. And, the Black Lives Matter stuff was saying, oh, we got to do this social justice. Oh, we got to put these things in our stores. And it was all bootlicking, bullshit.
Yep.
Like you had the Chick-fil-A guy,
Yeah.
doing nonsense. And it's like, that doesn't make me want Chick-fil-A.
Yep.
And you already had, you're not going to ever appease the people that are already boycotting your company.
Right.
That hate you just because you're Christian.
Right. Exactly. Well, speaking of that, I just noticed Joey's apparently has an itch to go to the movie theaters. He pulled up some show times that are coming up. But one thing about our local theater that we have here in town is they don't shy away from having religious titles.
Oh yeah.
Have you noticed
Angel
that?
Studios movies?
Yep, they have a lot
all
of them.
Yep. Yeah, man.
And then they have
that
have
is
this
actually
one.
my favorite movie theater.
Yeah, well, they've got the nice seats that recline
I'm
and
saying,
heat
dude.
up. And,
They're so nice. Heat
it's-
up the entire movie.
they've got
Heat me up.
Yeah, they've got a movie coming out soon. It's called Jesus. Oh boy, Jesus Thirsts: The Miracle of the Eucharist. For those that don't know, my wife asked me. She's like, "Is that just people playing cards around a table?" I'm like, "No, it's not people playing euchre. Why are we having this conversation?"
He's the best at euchre, don't you know?
Yeah,
He's a Eucharist.
but apparently, so the overview of the overview of the movie is. Deep within each human soul, there exists an intense craving for connection, purpose, and love, a thirst that only God can satisfy. Yet, the question remains, how does one fulfill this yearning? The Catholic Church teaches that the Eucharist, or the Lord's Supper, or communion, is the most profound means by which God shares himself with humanity. However, a 2019 Pew Research study unveiled a concerning reality. Only 1/3 of practicing U.S. Catholics believe in the real presence of Christ in the Eucharist. So it's more like a docu-film, seems like.
Docu-film on communion?
Yeah, it kind of sounds like it, which I would be very interested to see. Because that is honestly, when people are going through... when people are going through classes at our church, we have a lot of the.
Oh, we're gonna play with.
We have a lot of the same traditions as Catholics. We don't have necessarily we don't have a mass and stuff, but
you can take communion at. Is it
no
certain time? Oh, there's no communion.
No, well, we still have communion. I thought you were asking if you can be a Catholic and then commune at a Lutheran church and vice versa. Both of them have closed communion, what they call closed communion, which is basically they want to make sure that everyone believes the same thing.
When I go, there's always the open, like it's your choice. If it's something you believe, come on down. We're offering communion to everybody that's here at the service.
Yeah, well,
and
I should say,
been in Catholic.
Yeah, I should say in very conservative Christian or Catholic churches.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, but so yeah, that's one of the biggest questions that we get when we get new members or when we confirmation, things like that, which I won't get into confirmation too much, but basically it's teenagers learning about what we do in church and why we do it, and communion is one of the biggest things that people have a hard time wrapping their minds around. And it makes sense. I mean, as humans, we can't understand how this works sometimes, but the funniest thing that I always hear a lot of pastors say is, there'll be people that'll come from different denominations, and they'll be like, "Oh no, it's just a representation. It's just a representation of it. It's just a symbol." And it's so. One of the pastors that I used to have, he always used to say, why do you not understand the word is? And what he was referencing is when Jesus said to the disciples, "Take, eat, this is my body. Take, drink, this is my blood," right? Mm-hmm. And so now, of course, once you get more into the class, you realize that, okay, well, it's not Jesus jerky. Like, we're not cannibals, but that Christ is truly present in the body and the blood. How that happens? Well, one, we believe in the Lutheran Church, and probably a lot of Catholic Church. In fact, I know the Catholic Church believes it too. That saying the words of institution, basically saying what Jesus said the night that they did the Lord's Supper. They believe that God's word is what makes the union between Christ himself and the bread and the wine. You know what I mean? So, but that's the hard part that people have. And honestly, I'm a cannibal.
That kind of sounds like the result of a dumbing down of the populace, of just not understanding.
And that's fair. That's fair. But at the same time, though, you don't want to necessarily push through that subject either. You want to make sure that it's, you want to make sure that you want to make sure that they understand.
It's not just going up there getting the cracker and the little grapefruit cup.
Yep.
the little cup of grapefruit juice.
Well, it's like, and there's a lot of denominations out there that just believe it's just a representation or just a symbolic thing that we do. And realistically, this is something. One, if we're going to believe this whole book that we're reading out of every Sunday, then we should probably take seriously when Jesus himself tells us to do something. You know what I mean? Yeah. Take and eat. This is my body given for you. Do this in remembrance of me. He doesn't say, do it as a symbol to remember me. He says, do this in remembrance of me. He's not saying you can do it if you want. Like, do it. So that's the way we look at it. And I think, like I said, if you're gonna believe this entire book that we talk about on every Sunday, this is something that we should take seriously. Yeah. So there's a lot of denominations out there, and I visited a lot of churches, and they make it very clear that they believe that it's just a symbol or just a in lieu of, and that's not quite what it is, because if you read those words real carefully, you realize that he's saying this is my body and blood. That's the way we believe it anyway. So, but it's really cool to see that movies like this are coming out. One of the big ones that came out, the one directed by Mel Gibson, Passion of the Christ. It sounds like they're making a second one as well, which will be the resurrection of Jesus, and afterwards is what they're going to focus on. That'll be interesting. But I think that was one of the first real mainstream movies that came out.
I think you're right.
I know in the late 80s, I could be wrong, was what was the one with it was Moses. It was the telling of the story of Moses. What was that called? Dang it, I can't remember. Yeah,
I know there's Ben-Hur, which is one of the oldest tales.
Okay.
And that's one of the first tellings of Christ, because it kind of supports the whole story. Like Ben-Hur's happening simultaneously as Christ is happening.
Okay. Yeah. I'm just talking about how like the mainstream media has grasped onto. Prince of Egypt was a good one.
Yeah.
The Prince of Egypt was a good one. Yeah, it was the story of Moses liberating the Egyptians from slavery. My mom's probably listening to this. She's probably yelling it at her speakers right now because they watch it all the time.
Oh, that's funny.
But
What?
then there was the Jesus. It was Jesus of Nazareth, which I believe came out on. It might have been a PBS thing. I'm not sure, but
because I was gonna say, man, most holidays or some of the religious holidays too in the Catholic,
the Ten Commandments. That's what it was called.
You said it was the 80s, you prick. 1956.
No, that can't be that old.
maybe it was reshot in the 80s.
Oh, maybe they put color to it.
There was
Weird.
in the 1956. There was very easily colored.
Yeah, I don't remember. Yeah, it's the Ten Commandments though. What's
No,
the what's the
All right.
what's the
I
actor's
guess,
name?
I guess Wikipedia's wrong. Yeah.
Yeah, what's the actor's name? Charles.
Charles Heston.
Yeah. Charles.
Yeah, no, it
Heston.
definitely could have been him. No,
Yeah.
it couldn't have been Charles Heston because it was obviously 1980s film.
Yeah. I thought it was the 80s. My bad.
Yeah,
It
your
is.
mom-
It is an old film, but
That's all right, man. But I was gonna say a lot of the holidays, like there's these movies run on repeat and they're dubbed over in Spanish, but they're like old,
Yep.
and they're just little. You could tell. I know there was one that was like a David Goliath story, and they're all like the Middle Eastern kind of, but they're all low budget old movies. and
Sure.
they're,
Yeah.
a lot
Yeah.
of that
These
stuff comes out around then though.
Yeah. Well, it's cool to see. So, one, the fact that this theater is showing these kinds of movies and they're not afraid to do so.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome in my mind.
Well, like, and they do cool events too, where it's like and I don't know if there's something coming up where it's like the
Oh yeah, they
Lord of
do.
the Rings like anniversary, but I saw that like each day they're doing one of the movies, and
Yep.
honestly, that might be something me and my boy might go catch because we
Yeah.
like those movies. It'd be cool
Absolutely.
to go watch them on the big screen again,
Absolutely.
and they're
I-
great movies.
Yeah.
I do like the Lord of the Rings.
Oh, yeah.
Trilogy. I mean, it's one of the better ones.
Yep.
I would the remake of the show obviously is horrible.
I haven't seen any of it, to be honest with you, because that's all I've heard too is that it's pretty terrible.
It's just horrible.
the
the
Lord of the
show,
Rings.
Amazon
It's
show.
not Lord of the Rings. It's
Rings of Power.
Rings of
something like that.
Yeah, something like that. Silly.
But
It just got renewed for another season.
oh, great!
Did
Another
it?
season.
Mm.
That's all we need. More crap TV. But yeah, I don't know, man.
Yeah, I just like seeing that. I like seeing that some of these local businesses are doing this, and that place is still bringing in money. I mean, that the theater that was there before was very quickly dying
Oh, it was bad.
bad, and so to see the theater actually flourishing.
Well, the innovations they made were smart.
Yep.
The type of stuff that makes people want to come.
Yep.
And I think it's flourishing. I think it actually worked out really well.
Yep.
It-
I think you're right.
And this area too is growing.
That's true. Yep.
For the better. So yeah, it's all good. It's been a crapshoot. I think there's going to be competing casinos going in soon,
Yep.
so that's going to be weird.
Yep.
Who knows what that'll do for the local economy?
Well, it'll
Can't
bring.
really mess with the crime too much.
Yeah.
So it's just
Well,
gonna
it'll
make
bring
things
a lot
better.
of people in, which is always good for the economy as well. But it'll bring people in for sure. You'll have a lot more people staying at hotels.
Well, especially if they make it into it's supposed to be like some sort of water resort type thing.
Right.
If they do that, that'd be huge for
Yeah.
that. I mean, that'd be huge for the area.
Mm-hmm.
I hope they do.
Yeah. We could quite possibly see this town turn into the Wisconsin Dells.
I mean,
No,
Hey.
it's Hendricksville. Don't get it wrong.
Hendrick-
Oh, sorry, Hendricksville. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
But-
it's got a kind of Lorax vibe to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Who's the Lorax?
The Ho Chunks.
The Ho Chunks.
Whoever's putting up the casino. And then Hendrix is the little guy stealing everybody's air,
Yeah.
selling them back the clean air.
Well, what's crazy too is
Why is Hendrix the villain in this?
Cause, dude, that's popular opinion.
She's-
Don't you know? We
she's
just been
rich.
talking about Hollywood. She's rich. Eat the
Yeah,
rich.
So are the Ho Chunk.
Eat
Yeah,
the rich.
that's true.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but they've been oppressed.
oh, they've been oppressed.
they're
Yeah, that's
brown.
right. Yeah. They're a
They're
different
brown
color
and
than white.
oppressed, so yeah. Sorry, not sorry.
No, they're actually red.
Well, whatever. I don't know if you can say that.
I can say whatever I want to say.
They fought
You know
real
what's-
hard to not be called red.
Well, they didn't fight hard enough, obviously.
Oh boy. You know what's crazy is and you may have known this beforehand, but what I didn't realize until they started talking about this casino coming into town is They actually, once they purchase the land, that's sovereign land for them, so they don't pay taxes or anything. It kind of basically becomes reservation land, quote unquote.
Yeah.
But it's sovereign land, so they don't pay taxes on that. So none of that
Beloit's gonna
stuff
shrink, dude.
Yeah, well,
Sorry.
none of those profits that they're going to make are going to go towards the taxes here in Beloit. But to be honest with you, the amount of business that will bring into that side of town and other parts of the town too, honestly, I think it's still going to be a net gain for the city.
Yeah.
Imagine getting rewarded for losing.
Yeah.
That's the kind of mentality we're
Yeah.
providing this world anymore, you know,
Right.
with your kids.
Yeah. Dude, I don't know though, man. Some of this participation trophy stuff is going by the wayside.
Yeah.
I've noticed. It does kind of seem like they're trying not to do that.
Good.
With some of the sports I've seen. Now soccer, you know, in America, that's going to be one of those sports where they're probably always going to do something.
Yeah.
A little something. But
You already popped the top for me and everything?
I
Look
got
at
you, dude. I got you.
Where's it? There it is.
See. So yeah, man. I don't know that's essentially pretty much all I can think about talking about, dude.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Well, let's figure out something else to talk about here, Kyle.
Okay.
Got anything?
What?
I'm just
Got anything? I mean, I got some beers. Do you mean like metaphysically or like anatomically?
anatomically. Yeah, how'd your last doctor visit go?
Well, I just had one today. It was pretty well.
Oh, did you have one today?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Weird, right?
You had to have your semi-annual colonoscopy.
Yep. That's why I was walking funny when I came in. Did you notice? Thought it was very clear.
Yeah, yep. Now, you go into the doctor. You realize you don't have to come in for another 5 years. Oh, I know, doc. Oh boy. Well, let's talk about what beer we're drinking.
Yeah, sounds good, man. All right.
instead of colonoscopies.
I would agree with that. So, gosh, I wish I had the bottle. The first thing I had.
Oh, it was Kentucky tangerine cream ale.
Which I will admit that I tapped out on that because that is the worst tasting thing I think I've had. And it only got worse the more you tried to drink it. I figured I could just chug through it. Nah, it gets so much worse every time. Every time.
Well, it's a borderline. That one's a heavier beer. So the only reason I can talk about it too is because was I the one that bought that one, or did I buy a different? I don't know. I don't remember. Either way, I thought it sounded interesting. But
it's not
sounded
that
great.
bad.
It's not.
No, the flavor
It is weird.
It's good.
Weird.
Like it's not all good though. Like the flavor at first, it's like, all right, cool. You get that tangerine.
Yeah, you get the cream.
It's like, all right, cool. And then you get hit with this like weird, just gross, thick, full aftertaste of gross, man. I don't know. It's just not good.
Yeah,
It wasn't a good taste.
When I had it, it just seemed like someone took a regular, like just shy of a stout, and then they threw
stouts, so
they threw a little
too.
bit of orange flavoring and vanilla flavoring into it. That's what it tasted like to me.
Right.
So that was weird.
Yeah, and it could be that. Maybe it's just a stout.
Yeah.
Like
I don't know if it's actually a stout, but it's just shy of one. I know that because it is a
the
thick
porter,
beer.
stout, whatever. Like those thick. Yeah.
Yep.
But I mean, I did a Modelo palate cleanser, and then I switched right up to the Leinenkugel's Berry Weiss because we had one of them still in the fridge.
There you go.
That's you can't go wrong with the Berry Weiss. It's
right.
a delicious. It's very sweet. So it'll be the one and done, but it's good beer.
Colton came up to me the other night and he says, "Oh man, I'm sorry I drank a bunch of your Berry Weisses," and I'm like, "No, that's why they're there."
Yeah,
like it's just the assumption that's kind of our payment a little bit is to stock Joey's beer fridge, So I'm like, no, good. That's what they're there for. Drink them.
right.
So he's like, oh, they're so good.
They are. It's a great beer.
Yeah, it is good.
And 4.7% for what it is. It's like that's honestly this is something that doesn't taste strong at all. Like
Yeah.
Obviously, it's not, but I'm saying it's like 4.7%. It tastes like it's something that's not even alcoholic.
Right.
Like
right.
a juice, like a juice box.
Yep. I am drinking, going back to New Glarus. I picked up, shocking.
Don't it's been weeks.
It has. It actually has been weeks. We were just talking about last episode.
Yeah.
We haven't done New Glarus in a while.
Right?
No, it always catches my eye when I see a different colored label in the New
Pilsner.
Glarus section. And so I picked up these Pilsner. That's just what it's called, Pilsner. It's good. It's really good. It's how do I describe this without sounding like a tool?
It tastes like a Pilsner.
Yes.
Pilsner. Tastes like a Pilsner.
It's honestly like a really classic beer. It's just not. There's not really any flavoring to it.
Is it
anything?
full or is it
Yeah,
crisp?
it's full. Yeah,
Why
it's a
haven't you guys-
full beer.
Why haven't you guys picked up the raspberry tart yet?
I haven't seen it in a
Have
while.
you tried the
I
raspberry
saw it
tart?
like last week.
Well, where I went today, I didn't see it.
I'm
But
all about the pear, though, man. Bring
yeah,
back
if they'd
the
bring
pear.
that back, that would be good. To be honest with you, I'm looking forward to going into one of these liquor stores sometime soon because they should be coming out with their strawberry rhubarb.
Ooh, that is a good one.
Yeah. And then I
that
have
one
not.
goes fast too.
Oh yeah. The raspberry tart one, like I said, to be honest with you, it comes in a 4-pack,
Yeah.
and I usually have just kind of strayed away from those just because if I'm buying beer, I'm usually buying it for me and someone else.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
if
And
you're doing it for
four-
I'm talking about just for the podcast. If you're doing reviewing.
Yeah, that's
beers,
true.
It just makes sense to do that.
That's true. I did not see the raspberry tart. I saw in place of where the raspberry tart is usually, there's a Belgian red that's in a 4-pack, which I'd be interested to try.
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, it's probably good.
Yeah, I'm
But
sure.
I'm not jumping for that one. I get what you like. 'Cause
Yeah.
I'm kind of the same way when it comes to buying those 4-packs. And like for this, it's different. But like for myself, when I go to buy some of these things, like when it's the pear or like the strawberry rhubarb, there's
Yeah.
no question. But
Yep.
it's a little hard to spend that and try a 4-pack of something that might be not so good.
Well, it's
and
just
then-
as expensive, if not a little bit more expensive, for the 4-pack than it is a regular 6-pack.
exactly.
You know,
No,
so
it's more expensive than the
it's a little
6-pack.
bit of an investment, but
Yeah.
you do
Kyle-
make a good point. We're trying new beers.
Yeah.
We should
Kyle,
try.
have you had the raspberry tart?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I have not, and to be honest with
It's
you, I
pretty
don't
good.
know why.
I mean, it's tart. They're not. I mean,
It's raspberry.
it's definitely like it's good, but it's one of those ones that I can't drink a bunch of.
It's got raspberry. He's lying. Oh boy. Yeah, so the Pilsner, it's good. It's a good full-bodied beer. I would say the weight of it is probably a little bit heavier than like your Spotted Cow, your kind of just
Okay.
regular
So
ales.
Spotted Cow, would you grab that over a Spotted Cow?
Ooh, I don't know. Spotted Cow is a nice, solid classic. I don't
Yeah.
know if I would. I don't know if I would get one of these over a Spotted Cow,
Okay.
but I'm not dissatisfied with the purchase of
Nice.
this. This is pretty good. I would rank this right up there. I'd rank this right up there, just behind Spotted Cow, probably.
Okay. All right, man.
It's good.
Cool.
Yeah, it's a full flavored beer. I like it.
Barry Weiss is good. I'd rate that right up there. As like I said, it's a one and done beer, but it's something that's good. Like I could drink like 2, maybe 3 of these before
Yeah, before
You know,
gut rot sets in.
gut rot
Yeah.
sets in. Exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, man. Anyways, any final thoughts?
I don't think so. Well, the only thing I can think of is that we may end up switching the schedule up a little bit due to summer activities with our families and scheduling conflicts.
yes.
We may end up deciding to drop our episodes on Tuesdays. Yeah.
Don't worry, it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah, we may end up dropping our episodes on Tuesday mornings rather than Wednesday mornings, just because we might not be able to get together until later in the week sometimes. And we've been tossing around the idea. Don't be too surprised if you start seeing an episode like every other week, just because it is the summer. We've both got families that we want to spend time with, and schedules get busy during the summer, just the way it is. So.
Yep. But yeah, any sort of breaks or anything, I think we'd pick right back up around
Oh, for sure.
September time.
Yeah, 100%.
Maybe even August, end of August, September.
Yeah, once all of the craziness of summer ends, we'll get back to a weekly schedule, but it's not for certain yet whether or not we'll do every other week, but it kind of sounds like it's going to have to be that way just because of our schedules. But we'll keep you guys posted if, the next one will come out on Tuesday mornings, and we'll keep you guys informed on what we plan on doing. So,
Hell yeah.
all right.
We'll see you guys next time.
See ya.